Thanks for joining me for another episode of Smile Business Diaries. Today I had the joy of talking to Dr. Reynolds Lawnin, a dental clinic owner with an unconventional approach to marketing, exceptional generosity, and a great sense of humor, all while being a dead serious dentist. Here we go. Dr. Reynolds Lawnin, originally from Houston, pursued his education outside Texas, earning a bachelor's in engineering from Vanderbilt University in Nashville, before attending dental school at New York University. Following his doctorate in dental surgery, he completed a 2-year residency at the University of Texas School of Dentistry. He later became a clinical assistant professor at the same institution before joining Tanglewood Dental Associates, where he modernized the practice into a state-of-the-art digital practice. Dr. Lawnin is actively involved in the Houston dental community and engages in various community service activities. He enjoys spending time with his family and can often be found at Houston's coffee shops, sporting events, Astros games, or on the golf course. Welcome, Dr. Lawnin. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Amazing. By your summary, some may think you're professional and,
I'm not. In fact, one of my good friends, actually, he came into the office probably like 2 weeks ago and he took a picture with me. And it's funny because he's a sommelier in town, and, chefs and sommeliers are like the new local celebrities, right? And so
Absolutely.
There are these people that people look up to. Anyways, a couple of patients have come in and been like, "Hey, were you on Justin Van's Instagram?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's a friend." But he said this about me. He said he is a silly, silly man and a deadly serious dentist. And if I could have that just tattooed on the door to my office, I think that's
what a title. I love it. I imagine being able to say that to people. This is who I am. Right? I'd have to agree with that though. I'm super excited to get to talk to you and hear your story and what life has been for you in your journey to where you are today. You've got a great practice. You're the family man. You've got it all right now, and I think a lot of listeners would love to know your story and, how you got there. So if you would please share with us your journey from start to finish.
Okay. I don't know how far back you want to go to start, but I'll skip pretty much everything.
The day you were born.
Yeah, perfect. Well, no, I'll skip everything until I get to college. So I went to college for biomedical engineering. And I really thought when I entered college, biomedical engineering is the field I want to do. Like, I was always really good at math and science. I always have thought outside the box. And so engineering school just kind of fit that perfectly. And, I went to school. I got there. I did freshman year, did fine. I pledged to fraternity. So, grades suffered a little bit. I believe there was a conversation that my father said, which was, hey, you can make that GPA at home at University of Houston and not, then I don't have to pay for
right.
Vanderbilt. And I said, point well taken. I will work my tail off. So then second year, I did much better. And about the end of second year, I realized I didn't want to be an engineer. Like, it's just kind of,
just came to you?
Yeah, I guess. There are parts of me, me a little bit. And so this is hard for people who are watching this that don't know me. My wife calls me the most extroverted introvert she's ever met. I have to kind of, my wife is a mental therapist, so she explains all this stuff to me, but I have to go and recharge myself off by myself. But like, once I'm recharged, she's like, you're the Energizer Bunny. Like, you're ready to hang out. You want to talk to people. You want to get to know their stories. You want to hear what's going on.
Absolutely.
And so that's not engineering. Like, I don't know how familiar you are with the daily practice of an engineer, but that is not engineering, right?
Right.
So that's kind of what turned me off to it. And then I started looking at other professions. I started shadowing friends, family friends that were physicians. And I don't know, for me, that lifestyle didn't seem appealing either, right? And so I'm based in Houston, Texas. The U.S. I know is different than some places around the world, but if you live in the U.S., you understand that healthcare is kind of going through this giant upheaval, right? It's becoming an incredibly managed thing where physicians are no longer kind of business owners. Physicians are no longer, they're just day-to-day employees that are dictated by a corporation, a bunch of MBAs. And so I could kind of see that about 15, 20 years ago and realized this isn't what I want to do. I have a little entrepreneurial streak in me. And so, anyways, the long story short, or short story long, I got introduced to a mutual friend from a family who runs a dental practice up near where I grew up. And so I went and shadowed her, and she's a female dentist. She's a great dentist. Her name's Janine Hewitt. I was, to her testimony, the first and only male that she has ever allowed to work in her practice.
Wow.
And so I don't know if that's changed in the last couple of years because I haven't kept up with it, but she was pretty adamant on no males, and she let me work in the summer times as an assistant.
Did she ever explain that to you, what her reasoning is?
Janine's a little bit older, and so I think some of it is going through school for her. She was kind of fighting at least in Texas, the good old boy fight, right? There weren't a lot of female dentists. There weren't a lot of female faculty members. And so I think that was some of it for her. Mm-hmm. I have, my wife has helped me understand this because I have a tendency to downplay things that I'm able to do. But she has said, it's a testament to how much of a people person I am, that she would feel comfortable saying, hey, yeah, you can come into my office and you can come and be here.
Absolutely. So dentistry kind of found you in a sense.
Found me. And then, so I went to NYU. I met a girl who was from Houston, Texas, never intended to come back to Houston. And we moved back here. I did a 2-year GPR residency. So I always kind of understood the reason I thought I wanted to do GPR was for increased training, right? Whenever you get out of dental school, the giant barrier that nobody talks about, or we're starting to talk more about, is your skill set in what is financially feasible, right? From a business aspect of it, when you come and you look, and Maria, I'm sure you talk to young dentists all the time, right? The biggest hurdle is building that speed and that confidence. And so
Absolutely.
I thought a GPR would be a great way to do that. So I did 1 year, loved it. Did a second year and got to do a lot of really cool things. I got to do an externship at MD Anderson Cancer Center, which there's not a lot of general dentists that get to say that.
No. I mean, Houston alone, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's such an amazing hub of medical professionals, dental professionals. There's something, I mean, if anyone's been to Houston in that medical center area, I think you feel the amount of expertise in one zone. So, I mean, growing up in that surrounding, that must have had a big influence on your choices of where to go, where to learn, and your experiences in dentistry. Do you think that being in Houston has played a difference or played a role in that at all?
Yeah, no, great question. I think so. I think what it definitely had some aspect to that. What I really think has shifted, in particularly this 2 years at the GPR residency, and kind of even these little periods of a few months at MD Anderson or a few months working in a level 1 trauma center, what it's helped me realize is it's become more comfortable in being a part of the medical dental team. And so, right, that's, I think, what you're talking about. There's a whole medical center, and there's other dentists that are within the DSD network. David Alfie, right? That he comes to mind. He has a booming oral surgery practice in the medical center, and he's very comfortable and confident kind of bridging those gaps and being a part of the medical team, but also the dental aspect of it, right?
Absolutely.
Todd Shire, Mike McGuire, Drew Rossi are another example of it, right? These guys, Todd is on a mission to educate people about airway and its involvement and how dentists can help it.
So new dentists, move to Houston. That's all you got to do.
Don't move to Houston. No. Wait. No competition. Yeah. Come live in Houston for a little bit and then leave. Yeah.
Same with Florida. I'm in Florida here. No more tourists, please.
That's right. We want to keep Houston a little secret. Okay.
Right. But for those that are there, it's truly, I mean, DSD is is actually very pronounced in Houston. We have so many offices just right there in that little section. And you all, like you were saying, you all have your medical, dental, just emergence of education and how you treat patients there. But tell us about your office mainly. What is your office like? How does it compare to the other offices in DSD and in Houston in general?
Yeah. Oh, I can't necessarily speak to, I can compare it to the DSD offices that I know, right?
Of course.
But my office is probably unique. It seems to be unique amongst the DSD community.
I wouldn't doubt that one bit.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think it's unique because Houston's a pretty young city. Like in the 1980s, the population was 500,000 to 750,000 people. It was not a very large city. It's now 6 point something million people. So within 40 years, it's exploded. Where we're sitting right now, or where I'm sitting, I guess not where you're sitting, where I'm sitting right now, was not developed or built or did not have roads when my practice was started. So I bought it from a partner who bought it from another partner, and our practice is 65 years old. So
wow.
In Houston, Texas, that's a pretty incredible thing. And I will tell you, both of the previous owning doctors, Dr. Ed Heine and Brad Boswell, are still patients in the practice.
Amazing. So
yeah, Dr. Boswell's about, his sons live in Baton Rouge, but so he's about to move, but I think he'll still probably come back. But
he'll still come every 6 months.
So my office is different than I think most DSD offices. I think most DSD offices are likely de novo or new starts, and it's somebody who has had some exposure to this or sees the way and the pattern at which this can evolve and change their practice. Whereas my office is, there would have been a lot of people that would have camped out in my office and said, hey, I got a great general dental practice. It's been around 65 years. It's got, several 4-generation families as patients. Like, I don't need to do anything. And I didn't see that at all. I saw an opportunity to kind of digitize and modernize that.
Hello, I'm just taking a quick break from this podcast interview to tell you how you can get started with DSD. If there was anything that our guest has mentioned that strikes a chord with you, or you are curious about becoming a DSD clinic, I encourage you to book a call with me. This is a 30-minute, no-obligation information sharing session in which I can answer your questions about DSD and discuss your options based on your unique circumstances. The link to schedule a call with me can be found in the notes on this episode. Now, back to the interview. So what caused you to go in that direction? Because I'm sure you were faced at some point with, should we build our own brand new practice? Should I go after an older one and rehab it? There's so many options out there. What was your thought process in that point of your life of determining, okay, I'm going to set myself up as a practicing dentist in my own office. How do I do this? What was your thought stream and how did it happen?
So I was an associate for a very successful practice up in a suburb north of the Woodlands for about 4 years. And one of the things that I kind of realized is I wanted to practice in town or kind of near town. So if you've never been to Houston, it's a pretty sprawling area. It's closer to like LA than it is to,
I love Houston. It's
than Miami or even
huge, actually. Yeah.
It's massive. It is absolutely massive. And so, I'm probably 5 miles from downtown, but we're right next to the Galleria. It's a central business area. There's 3 or 4 central business areas in Houston. So I knew I kind of wanted to be in this space.
The location was
commute. I wanted quality of life stuff. Like I wanted, as you look out my shoulder, kind of where this like white top is, there's my kids' Little League baseball fields are going to be right there. I wanted something that I could like say, cool, I get to be your, neighborhood friendly dentist. Like I get to be the guy that hangs out and goes and does T-ball with his kids and just wanted to be the guy in an area.
I think you definitely achieved that. And I think it's very interesting as well because it's almost unassuming, and I'm being completely transparent with you. It's like, okay, here's this small town guy, family guy with an office, everything looks good. But I don't know that people really know how great you're doing, and how you did it, because and we're going to talk about this, and I think the website thing. the website. Everyone needs to know this guy actually does not have a website, and he's practicing. He's doing phenomenal, and it's very bizarre.
Social media either.
It's like, how do you survive in this world today without all that? So tell me, how did you get to be so successful in just having the good patient flow, your schedule, your organization of family life and office life? Like, I mean, you really seem like you have it all put together. It's amazing, and I think people would really get a lot out of just knowing, how do you manage all that, and how did it come about?
Well, I'm going to warn anybody that's listening to this. If you think you have it all put together, the answer to that is you do not. Yeah. So maybe that's the first step, is having enough humility to understand, like, nobody has it all put together. I have tough days just like everybody else has tough days, right? I think in my aspect, part of the website, I do not have a website. We had a website. I took it down probably 3 years ago. It was just kind of junky. It was your generic dental website. And it didn't have any videos, just, it didn't look right? But some of the reason I think we've been able to be successful without a website and without social media, and I say I don't have social media. I do not have a practice social media. I have a personal social media that is open to the public, that you would be amazed at the number of patients who find me. And the whole goal of that social media is to just show people I'm a normal human being. Like, I'm not some holier than thou. It's not when you come into my office and oh, I'm the doctor, you're the patient.
Right.
What I say, it is very much a hey, I'm a regular guy. Like, I want you to understand I'm a regular guy. Simon, if you've ever seen him, Simon Sinek on TED Talks, he gives all these TED Talks, and one of his famous ones is understanding your why, right? And so I knew pretty early on, like, and part of the reason I was attracted to purchasing this practice was my why has always been developing relationships with people, the ability to get to know the people that I'm treating. And so the motto for our office is remarkable dentistry through sincere relationships. Right? Like, you can provide remarkable dentistry, you can have sincere relationships, but to be able to do it together, I think, to me, is kind of the secret sauce, right? And that's how we've been able to do it without a website. We focus so much on spending time with our patients, getting to know them, making them feel comfortable with what we're doing, who we are, what we think, how we see things, how we treatment plan. The number of people I talk to on a daily basis for the 13th time about some potential treatment that might need to happen in the future would be alarming to most dentists. Most dentists, it seems to be you're going to come in, maybe I'm just going to diagnose everything I see the minute you walk into my office. Maybe I'm going to tell you I'm going to watch a couple of these things, and that my watch list is in 6 months or in a year, then I do that stuff. I don't view it that way. I view it as, we will talk about treatment when it's 100% necessary. I tell my patients, we can't wait on this. You've got cavity, this is it. But let's say you've got a fracture line in a tooth that has, some discoloration. Patient doesn't have any chewing sensitivity. Patient doesn't have any cavity in that area. Nothing, no history of cracking all these teeth. That's a conversation for me. That's not let me put a watch on it and diagnose it, and next time I'll do it. It is look, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. This is our concern. I'm also honest with patients that if they have a bunch of these fracture lines in their teeth, research isn't great on when to treat these things. It's kind of split. But I'm also honest with them of like, hey, if you fracture one, we're going to start fixing everything, because we don't want this to, and they understand that. They appreciate it.
I think that's super fascinating, because one of the biggest complaints I hear from offices is, I need to be better at my treatment plan conversation and my diagnosis conversation, and that whole just connecting with the patient as a human being first. And that sounds like exactly what you're doing. And so that secret of connecting with the patient, having a real conversation of, talking to them like you would a friend first, and then going into the clinical diagnosis and explaining it further, that is something that I rarely see, honestly, in offices. And it's as easy as it sounds to do. It's almost one of the most difficult things. So tell me, how did you come about that? Was this just natural for you? Is this something that you always did and it just worked out? Or is it something you had to learn over the years? Because dental school doesn't necessarily teach you this way, right?
No, dental school doesn't teach you this way at all. It is something that arose because I'm a huge believer in understanding who you're talking to, right? And so there's a book sitting right over here on my desk. In fact, I'll pull it up. It's Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
It's a popular one,
right?
Yes.
Like, it's a great book. The lessons of this book, and I don't want to shortchange it, but the lessons of this book are, if you build relationships and start to understand people, then people are going to enjoy you, right?
Absolutely.
And so there's a guy, he said it best. His Instagram name is Yellow Tux Jesse. Okay, you're going to look at him and you're going to think I'm an idiot because he wears a giant bright yellow tuxedo and with a yellow like top hat, and he looks like a goofball, and you're going to think it's the most unserious thing. But Yellow Tux Jesse is the owner of the Savannah Bananas. And if you haven't paid attention, the Savannah Bananas are perhaps the most popular sports social media account on the planet. They're the people doing all the fun baseball stuff. Anyways, he started giving these talks on how it all came to be. And he talks about it at the Savannah Banana Games. What was the biggest hindrance to pro sports? And it was, you'd show up and you'd pay $40 for a ticket. And then, as he called it, you had an inconvenience fee, which was another $22. And then you had to pay for sodas. And then you had to do all this. And he talks a lot about, and I think this is an incredible philosophy, putting yourself in your consumer's shoes and then looking at it from their perspective. And so my whole philosophy came from the idea of, when a person comes into the office, why do they hate us? Why do they dislike dentistry? Why do they come off, even though they've never met me, why are they standoffish? And sometimes it's past trauma. There's nothing I can do about that. Right. But sometimes it is this idea and this notion that we're a giant black hole. People come in and they're praying to God that we don't find $6,000 worth of dental work that needs to be done, and then put a hard sales pitch on them. Mm-hmm. They go, man, I don't know what to do. That for me is why I've kind of crafted the business model the way I have. If I can remove that in some regards, then I make it easier to want to be a patient. I make it more alert and aware for patients. I can help them plan. Hey, you know what? These teeth are probably coming in the next 3 or 4 years. We've got a case. We're actually about to do it. We just took his DSD records yesterday, his first appointment visit records yesterday. And he's a guy who has pretty textbook acid and carbon erosion on his teeth. And we've been having the conversation for 6 years. We've shown him pictures and said, look, I just want to give you a heads up. This is going to need to be fixed at some point. Like, you're losing too much tooth structure. And I'm not kidding you. The DSD appointment came because 2 weeks ago, he walked in for his cleaning and he looks at me and he goes, I'm ready. It's time.
Wow.
Sales pitch on. I didn't have to do a single thing. That I'm ready. It's
well, that's time. The magic, right? It's that visual communication, because you're an amazing communicator. You're amazing at bonding with your patients. However, sometimes no matter what we say, right, the patient has to see it and understand it. And so using DSD concepts of visually communicating the treatment to them so they see it and they tell themselves the problem instead of you telling them, right? We all listen to ourselves more than anyone in the world, right? So, well, some of us, but but it's very interesting, I think, to learn that you really don't do marketing, right? I can safely say that. And you've been able to grow your practice through really just being human. Is that safe to say?
I think that's accurate. I do a little bit of marketing. I'm a season ticket holder for the Astros, and so I do, like, for good patients, I give them my seats, right?
Got it.
I am on some highly allocated collectible wine list, and like I try. I'm probably one of the only, maybe the only dentist in Houston that gives regular gifts to the specialist he works with. Normally, it's the opposite way. Specialists
Yes.
give gifts trying to get referrals. But I believe wholeheartedly in telling the specialist that I work with, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for doing things this particular way. I really appreciate you helping me. And so I do little things on marketing. It's not that I'm immune to it, but you're correct. In traditional marketing sense, I don't do any mailers. I don't have a website. I don't have a social media.
And that's
all about
super
building
interesting, because I think now especially there's this conception of I have to do marketing to succeed. I have to invest X amount so often in running ads and keeping up on social media and all of that. And it can be debilitating for some people, right? It's a lot of work. That's an extra job.
Yeah.
So if there is a way to get out of it, which I'm sure many would love to stop paying their marketing agency, because you look at any business, marketing is where the money disappears. Sales is where it comes back, right? So, and you need both in order to grow and succeed. So well, first of all, what made you decide, this is the direction I'm going to go? I'm not going to do it the same way as everyone else. What made you decide that? And then how exactly has it really worked for you over time?
I mean, what made me decide it, I think, is pretty easy. And I would ask you, how do you make a purchase that you decide on? Like, let's say you're going to go buy a local bakery and get the bread. Maria, how do you make that purchase? What influences your purchasing desires to say, you know what, I want to go try this bakery or this coffee shop?
Oh, you're speaking my lingo now. That when we get into psychology and behavioral sciences, I'll get into the textbook and give you it all. But
the most powerful thing for you is what? Is word of mouth, right?
Yeah, trust, right? It comes down to trust, your image, what friends say, your reviews, and overall the result.
That's it right there. What friends say, right? If you've had a friend that's gone to a restaurant and tells you, hey, this restaurant's fantastic. Or if you have a friend that's gone to a hairstylist and says, this person's great, they take care of you, that instantaneously builds your trust to the next level, right? I think in dentistry, and I understand it because it is so much. Marketing for dentists is the black hole, right? They don't whereas patients, the black hole is coming in here and trying to figure out what all needs to be done. For dentists, it's marketing. They're like, oh my God,
right.
I'm going to spend how much money on doing this? And I don't fully understand how much we're going to be, how much we're going to spend and how much return we're going to get.
Right.
But it's that black hole, and so, but everybody learns this when they're in dental school. The best referrals that you can get are word of mouth. And so when you ask about why I decided to do it this way, it's because it's that trust, right? I think, and look, not by the time this thing comes out, but at some point in the not too distant future, we will have a website and we will have social media. But I think we have a tendency to look at marketing and the business aspects of dentistry and say, the website and social media are what drives my marketing performance. And I would tell anybody listening, you're wrong. What drives your marketing performance is your relationships with people. They go and they talk to their friends and they talk to their family and they say, hey, I have a great person. The website and the social media validate what they've heard from other people in reviews, all of that stuff. That's just extra validation. But the first way people find you is because somebody told them, or they see somebody who they like, right?
Right. And I couldn't imagine, if a friend that I believed in and trusted wholeheartedly told me, hey, go to this person for your dentist, I wouldn't think twice. I would say it adds another layer of now I have to. There's no question, right? But like you said, you do your quality control checks. Let me look at the website, make sure, my friend wasn't mistaken about this person, or, it's that validity check that you need to confirm, okay, yes, I'm making the right choice. And that's exactly what it sounds like you're saying. Did you ever have, though, like this fear? Because I think that's the one thing that many will hesitate to go your direction in, right? Because it's like, okay, I see what you're saying. It all makes sense. But to actually do this, it's taking a big jump in a direction that could end horribly. So how do you go into that knowing everything's going to be okay?
You don't, but this is the second, like, I believe two things incredibly firmly, right? Like, I believe that relationships are the best way to get anything done. And I believe that success, the castle of success, is built on the foundation of failure. Absolutely. You have to fail to get success. Like, you have to, I'll use a baseball analogy. You have to stand at the plate and strike out to be able to hit a home run. You have to continually fail. And so what I look at it is an opportunity. And by taking the website down and by taking the social media and not having one, I said, and there's a sales clock, right? If you've ever seen this, there's pre-purchase, there's purchase, and post-purchase. And Brendan McDonald, the DSD CEO and marketing guru extraordinaire, talks a lot about this. Well, from midnight to 4 is the pre-purchase. So that's your website, your social media, all that. So that's 1/3 of it. But from 4 to 8 is your purchase or chairside experience. And then from 8 to 12 is your post-purchase or your after experience. So 2/3 of the marketing clock or percentages are based entirely on nothing to do with your website, nothing to do with your social media. It's all about how you come across and how you present yourself to patients and people and how you manage those things. So what I tried to do is say, by taking this stuff down and not stressing out and worrying over it, cool, we're going to focus on 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. We're not going to worry about midnight to 4 a.m. Like, we're not. And is there an inherent risk? And I'd be lying if I didn't say, look, there's a little bit of strategy in this, and that my partner, Brad Boswell, retired earlier than I had expected he would. And that's okay. But, I have kind of a big enough practice for like 2 doctors or 1 3/4. But if I was doing a ton of pre-purchase marketing, I wouldn't have any space for this. And I'm very intentional in finding the right person to be in this office. I'm looking. So anybody who's listening to this, who needs exist, it's going to be different than any place you've ever worked at. Like, I interview candidates and I tell them, I'm like, I just want you to understand, this is going to be the strangest interview you've ever had. And at the end of it, I look at them and they're like, yeah, that was pretty bizarre. I'm like, I understand. It should be. I'm trying to understand who you are.
Right. I think the best way to describe you is like, and I don't know the right way to say it, but those flash mob parties, is what it's called, where people just start breaking out and dance. That's you. Like, very unassuming, just normal day. And then here's Reynolds just exploding with the joy and fun and just lighting up the room. So it's absolutely, if anybody wants a fun day every day at work, definitely talk to Reynolds. So it's actually a good time. We're coming to an end. So if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, what would be the best way to reach out to you? Because we can't get to your website.
My website. The little secret is I actually have a website, and it's password protected. Yes, the password. So it's like a speakeasy website. There's a password, and it's guessable. It's not. I haven't made it like a bunch of random.
Like password 1 2 3.
Yeah, that's some relation or something that you can guess. But if you get through it, there is a secret phrase that anybody who tries gets through, and it says, "Congratulations on getting through to our website. Say this word to Dr. Lawnin, and your next year of dental care, no questions asked, is completely free." So,
wow.
Yeah, and so
you're going to get a lot of activity. Your site's just going to crash after that.
Nobody's tried. But the best way to get a hold of me, look, I'm not active in posting, but I am active in responding. Reynolds the Dentist, REYNOLDS, the Dentist is my Instagram. It's my personal. You'll see my wife. You'll see my kids. It's the one that I use to show people I'm a real person. If you want to reach out, you can call our office, 713-784-2952. You can email our office. It's info@tanglewooddentalassociates.com.
Thank you. That's the
best way to get hold of me.
Wonderful. And then just final message for everybody listening. If there's one thing that you can have them take away from this, what would you like to tell everyone?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the thing that I would tell you most is, and we've kind of skirted around it, but the summary point for me is why I took the website down, why I focus on this is that's who I am. Like, if you're listening to this and you're not certain, you asked, Maria, about you're worried to fail. Well, I wasn't really worried to fail because I was going to be true to myself, right? I wasn't pretending to be something I'm not. And I think that would be my little piece of advice is if you have an inclination, if you're running a business or you're starting a business and you have something, it is make your beacon on success or direction. Always try to get closer to who you are. Be more comfortable in your skin, right? If you're not a full mouth reconstruction, cosmetic, whatever guru, and you just like doing single teeth, have a practice at single teeth. Like, that's awesome. If you are not a pediatric dentist, like, and you don't like working with kids, don't see kids. Like, we feel so much of this need and desire to kind of be something to somebody.
Right. And follow the same template as everyone else. And I think it's amazing to see, you're the walking, talking, living, breathing example of follow your heart and do what you want to do and everything will fall into place. I think more than anything, nothing needs to be said as far as how do you overcome that fear, because you demonstrate that yourself. So thank you.
If you're true to yourself, you will be successful. Like,
absolutely.
I think where people lose success is when they try to be something that they're not, when they try to be something that they're not comfortable doing. And that doesn't mean you can't do it and be successful, but it's much, much tougher. Absolutely. So if you want success in dentistry and life and anything, it is being true to yourself. Right?
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all this. I really believe it's super helpful for everyone to realize that, like you said, don't follow others. Be true to yourself, and wonderful, wonderful take-home message. So again, thank you for your time, for sharing your story, your journey with us. I know you've had some crazy weather in Houston, so I don't want to keep you too long and let you get back to that going on. I'm sure we'll hear about it, like you said, all over the news. So hopefully we'll tie that into our talk. But
it'll be on the news. But Houston, very few people. My office strangely won, but very few people right now have power. It's schools were canceled today. It was kind of crazy. So
so that just goes to show. Look at how hard this guy's working. He's doing it. He's doing it. So thank you again.
I would argue the only reason I'm here is because the golf course is closed. Right. So awesome.
Hey, we'll take it.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you. We'll be in touch, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Get home to those kids and be safe out there.
I will.
Thanks. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, please be sure to like and share it with your professional network. In the next episode, I talk to Dr. Alessia Salate. If you subscribe to Smile Business Diaries, you will not miss it.